Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I first started getting into hand tying my own jigs. Don't really require any special tools, although they do help. I'll show you how I first started and what I use and what I do to hand tie my own jigs. First, I'm starting off with leftover jigs that happen to lose their skirts or get ripped off. This is a half-ounce flipping jig, and I'm gonna tie up a brown crawfish pattern today. So we start with our jig head, and I'll show you the tools, the basic tools that you need. Just a pair of needle nose pliers is going to be fine, any kind. A pair of side cuts, and then I'm using 24 gauge green gardening wire to tie mine up. Some people like to use a small diameter string, braid. For the ease of using this and the durability, I choose this. As long as you tie it up correctly and make sure you keep the sharp points out of the way, this stuff works just fine. So the first thing you're going to do is you need to pick your colors that you're going to match up here today. And I already have mine laying out here. I got my silicone skirts from fishingskirts.com. I'm going to use 2 tabs. There's 2 here. I'll use 2 tabs of this brown here, and then I'm going to use 1 tab of this perfect crawl color. First thing I do is I get my wire out, give myself enough so I got plenty to work with. Last thing you want is having a short wire and not having enough room to work with it. Get my wire and I just lay it down like this. My first color that I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to use this perfect crawl as an accent. I don't want to get too much of it in there, so these tabs on the end, they're all solid, so it holds all the strands together. And what I do, you just figure out about how much I want, which I'm going to put a little bit more, probably about 3/4 of a tab in this one. Cut off however much you want, and most likely I'm going to put this along the back of this jig. So this is going to be the back side of the jig, or the bottom side of the jig. Then my main color I'm going to go ahead and lay down right over top of that. Get whatever jig head you're using, sit it down right on top of that. Make sure the wire is right into that groove where you need to tie it up. I'm going to get 1 more brown, and now I'm just going to lay it right in the middle there. I'm going to lay it right over that weed guard, just like that. Now it's kind of tricky if you do have a weed guard. Obviously it's going to be easier if you don't have one, but you know, most likely if you're flipping and pitching, you're definitely having a weed guard, and just gotta learn to work around it. So what I do, I take this wire here, bend it down and under that weed guard, like so. Take this other side and bend it up and under that weed guard also. Making sure, you'll see there how I got a little bit off track from that hub. You got to make sure that stays up on there. So after you get it up on there, you just kind of tighten it down a very little bit, so it'll hold the skirt in place. After this, I flip it over, bring these 2 pieces together, just get it a little bit snug so it holds the skirt in place. After that, you go inside of here, and you see how I have just a little bit here that's not really full. You just kind of work it around and put it where you want. You know, you want to make sure you got skirt all the way around. You don't want any gaps or nothing. After you have that, I hold on my skirt, twist my wire around about right there. I pinch it together, give it a little twist. That way it's easier to get the needle nose pliers on there. You grab that just like that, give it a twist or two till it starts to get tight. You don't want to cinch it down all the way yet, because you still want to make sure your placement. See how that moved a little bit? So as it's still it's pretty tight, but you still have enough play there to move your skirt around. So make sure you fill that all in. Next what I do is I just finish rotating it up. I want to end up with this cutoff piece folded over on the inside here. That way it doesn't get hung up on anything if I'm bringing it through some brush. So I'll give it one more twist. Get your side cuts out. I cut it a little bit long, about that much. Then what I do is I fold this in half. Pinch it down like that. Give it one more twist. I don't know if you can see that well here, and then I pinch it down against the body of the jig then. There's a nice and tight band around there. As you can see, the skirt's all full, and most likely if you didn't get it full, if it moved around on you, you can still move these a little bit, but it is pretty darn tight here. And the only thing really left to do is you guys still have these solid tabs at the end. Take a nice pair of scissors, cut it right off where those tabs hold it together. Sometimes they'll stick. Just gotta pull on them, they'll all come apart. Check to make sure you didn't miss any. Which don't look like it. Now you got this brown jig with the accent, which is a beautiful color. And this is actually the first time I made this skirt with this color combination. It's not very hard to make something that you think is going to look good. And as you can see, most of my accents here on the right side, I'm still able to pull these around here to make it a little bit more even. You just get a hold of a strand or two. There we go. The last thing I like to do is I usually trim mine off, just a little bit below the hook. You can leave them long if you want, if you feel the need like you might be leaving it long. I always trim my jigs to pretty close to right underneath the hook. That way my trailer is visible. So then you're finished with something that looks like this. Pretty easy, pretty simple. You don't need any special tools. Just common stuff you're probably going to have around the house. If not, you can find it at your local store. Get on fishingskirts.com, buy yourself some tabs. Use those old jig heads that you lost skirts on, that you've been catching fish on. They're still good. If your hook's pretty dull, sharpen that up. That's very important if you're going to use an old jig head. Another tip that I like to do almost with all mine is I cut off my weed guard, so when you bend it, it goes just above that barb, if not right over top of it. That gives you enough room, so if you come over a log or something, it gives you enough to where it's not gonna hang up, but it's not excessive, so if a fish bites it, it's gonna damper any hook set that you may have. So there you go. Go on fishingskirts.com, get your skirts, and save some money and have some fun catching fish on something that you made. This is Casey, and have a great day.
Well, Mama told me when I was young, said sit beside me, my only son.